My name is Patricia Smith, and I'm 25 years old. And for as long as I can remember, I've lived with the quiet, aching truth that I was never really wanted in my own home. It started when I was 14, still a kid who loved collecting stickers, still naive enough to believe that family meant unconditional love. That was the year my mother remarried. Her new husband, Tom, walked into our lives carrying the kind of smile that made adults say, "He seems like a good man," while kids like me sensed something colder beneath it. He had a son, Jake, 17, tall, smug, effortlessly confident. He didn't like me from day one. And honestly, I didn't like him either. The ink on the marriage certificate hadn't even dried before the tension spilled into everything we did. Jake left dirty dishes everywhere, sometimes in the sink, sometimes on the coffee table with milk curdling inside the bowl. Guess who got yelled at for it? Me. My mom would stand in the kitchen, arms crossed, repeating the same lines. "Patricia, it doesn't kill you to help around the house." Or worse, "Be understanding. Jake's adjusting." Adjusting? He was practically throwing a parade in our living room every night. But it didn't matter. Somehow everything wrong with that house found its way back to my name. I tried to brush it off, tried to tell myself it would pass. But things got worse, much worse, when my mom announced she was pregnant. Suddenly the narrative shifted. Now it was, "We need more space for the baby. We need to reorganize the house. We need everyone to be flexible." And everyone meant me. Out of all the rooms, they chose mine to turn into a nursery. My little sanctuary, the only place where I could breathe, vanished overnight. They shoved me into the guest room, which was barely bigger than a closet. I remember standing in the doorway, staring at how my desk barely fit, how my clothes had to be crammed into a single drawer. No one asked how I felt, no one cared. Nathan was born a few months later, perfect and adored. I loved my little half-brother, I still do, but he became the gravity around which the entire house orbited. And Jake? He leaned into his newfound freedom. He dropped out of college, moved back home, and began hosting party after party with people I didn't recognize, loud, chaotic people who slammed doors and left beer cans scattered like confetti. Tom brushed off the mess. Mom sighed and played peacemaker. I was left clenching my teeth until my jaw hurt. School became my escape. I joined every club I could, stayed late for study groups, even volunteered to sort books in the library. Anything to avoid stepping into that suffocating house. But the night that still burns in my memory was the night I came home late from a project meeting. The place was quiet, unnervingly quiet. A note on the fridge read, "Went out to dinner, leftovers in the microwave." That was it. No invite, no explanation, just exclusion. I stood there for a long time staring at the note, realizing I wasn't just left out. I was invisible. I didn't cry. I went to my cramped little room, lay down, and stared at the ceiling until my chest stopped hurting. But the real breaking point came after my 18th birthday. I came home from work one night to find my room, my tiny borrowed space, completely destroyed. Jake had thrown a party while my mom and Tom were away, and of course, my room became the designated hangout zone. My lamp was broken, my school papers were ruined, soaked in alcohol, my clothes reeked of smoke. Someone had even vomited in the corner. I lost it. The next morning, I marched to the table during breakfast, placed my ruined calculus project in front of Tom, and said, "This isn't okay." Tom didn't even look up from his eggs. "Patricia, you should have been more responsible with your things." Responsible? For what? Being existent? My mother's quiet sigh only made it worse. "Let it go," she whispered. "It's just stuff." It wasn't just stuff. It was my privacy, my dignity, my last piece of space. Something inside me snapped. From that day on, I worked every extra shift I could, squirreled away every dollar, and avoided home like it was toxic gas. By the time I turned 18, I had scraped together enough to rent a tiny studio near campus. It wasn't much, old carpet, flickering hallway lights, but it was mine. The night I told them I was leaving is a scene I'll never forget. I sat Mom and Tom down at the kitchen table. My voice shook, but my resolve didn't. "I'm moving out." Mom's eyes widened, then dropped. She didn't say a word. Tom leaned back, scoffing. "You think you're ready to live alone? Because you're 18? Don't be ridiculous." "I am ready," I said, even though my palms were sweating. That's when Tom snapped. "You're selfish. Your brother looks up to you. Nathan needs you, but you only care about yourself." Nathan, always Jake, always everyone but me. Mom finally whispered, "Families stick together, Trish. You'll regret leaving." But I already regretted staying. 3 days later, Mom quietly helped me pack. No apologies. No confessions, just folded clothes and taped boxes. When I closed the door to my new apartment that night, the silence hit me like a wave. Empty, terrifying, beautiful. I slept badly those first nights, jumping at every creak, missing even the chaos I hated. But slowly my body unclenched. Slowly the air felt lighter. Slowly I felt human. Life became routine, peaceful. I studied. I worked. I cooked dinner in a tiny pot I bought at a thrift store. And just when my life began to feel stable, just when I thought I had finally escaped the shadow of that house, my mother called, her voice soft, too soft. Patricia, Tom is revising his will. He's leaving everything to Jake and Nathan, not you. They're his biological children, and he thinks it's more reasonable. The words sliced clean through me. It wasn't about the money, it was the message. You were never ours. That night, lying awake in my studio, staring at the ceiling again, I finally understood. I had been running my whole life, but some wounds follow you until you confront them. I just didn't know yet that fate was about to drag me straight back into their world, with a twist big enough to shatter everything I thought I knew. If someone had told me back then that my life was about to flip itself inside out, I would have laughed, or cried, or both. Because after Tom's will announcement, I did what I'd always done. I tried to pretend I didn't care. I threw myself into work, into studying, into building a life far away from the weight of my family. And somewhere along that path, Evan Hale walked into my world. We met in the least glamorous way possible, me spilling iced coffee on his shoes during a crowded morning rush. I had apologized a dozen times, cheeks burning, while he laughed it off like it was the funniest thing in the world. Evan was calm where I was anxious, warm where I was guarded. He didn't push, he didn't pry, he simply stayed. Sure, his ex-girlfriend, Taylor Brooks, occasionally hovered in the background like a storm cloud, pretending to be decorative, liking his photos at odd hours, sending nostalgic, hope you're doing well texts. But she never posed a real threat. Evan made that clear, gently but firmly. Whatever they had was over. He chose me. And I believed him. For once, life felt steady, until the phone call. One random Thursday afternoon, my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something in my gut told me to pick up. Am I speaking with Patricia Smith? The voice was crisp, professional. Yes, who is this? My name is Martin Hale. I'm a probate attorney handling the estate of your great-aunt, Margaret Evans. I'm calling to inform you that she recently passed and named you as her sole beneficiary. I froze. Who? Your great-aunt Margaret. He paused as if waiting for memories that didn't exist. You may not remember her well, but she remembered you. For a moment, I actually wondered if it was a scam, a trick, some identity theft attempt. I don't understand. We barely knew each other. The attorney's voice softened. She wrote you a personal letter. I'll send it along with the documents. Documents? What exactly did she leave me? I finally asked. He inhaled, prepared, delivered the blow. A trust fund, multiple properties, and a stock portfolio valued at approximately $3 million. My heart stopped. $3 million. I sat perfectly still on the edge of my bed, phone trembling in my hands. Why me? Slipped out. Not a question for him, really, but the universe. He continued explaining logistics, scheduling meetings, paperwork, but my mind was barely functioning. By the time we hung up, my entire life had quietly, irreversibly changed. The days that followed felt like a fever dream. Meetings with lawyers, signatures on thick envelopes, unlocking accounts I never imagined touching. Then, the letter. A simple cream envelope with my name written in shaky handwriting. Inside, you remind me of who I used to be. Determined, independent, willing to stand alone rather than bend to unhealthy expectations. Use this gift to build a life you won't regret. Love, Margaret. I cried, not because of the money, but because someone, not family by choice, not family by politics, but family by quiet memory, had seen me. Seen me. I bought a modest home, nothing flashy, a small, sunlit place with creaking floors, and a yard where daisies grow wildly. I hired a financial advisor to help invest the rest. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared. I wasn't scrambling. I wasn't waiting for the next emotional ambush. I was finally free. But freedom doesn't last when family smells blood. It started subtly. A cousin I barely remembered sent a Facebook message. Hey girl, long time. Heard some news. You got time to chat? Then another cousin. Then an uncle. And then, inevitably, my mother. She called with a voice drenched in honey. pretending it wasn't the first time she'd spoken to me in months. "Oh, sweetheart, how are you? I miss you. Listen, things have been so hard with Tom's health, and bills are piling up, and Nathan's school." I knew where it was going, and still hearing it hurt. One by one, they all reached out, cloaked in sympathy, dipped in guilt, coated with entitlement. "We could use help. Can you loan us a little? You're doing so well now. Family supports each other." Family. The word sounded poisonous in their mouths. At first, I stayed calm. I deflected. I kept boundaries. But then my mother requested a face-to-face talk. Just us. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a cafe. Neutral ground. She didn't bother with small talk. "Patricia," she said, my full name, the one she only used when she was serious. "I expect you to write me a check for $1 million. I stared at her, certain I misheard. "A million?" She nodded slowly, confidently. "It's only fair. The money came from your father's side of the family. Technically, it should have been mine." I blinked. Once. Twice. Then I felt my entire chest go hollow. "Mom," I said quietly, "I'm not giving you $1 million. Her face twisted, not with hurt, with rage. "You are ungrateful. After everything we did for you, after all the sacrifices." Sacrifices? Like stealing my bedroom? Ignoring me for years? Letting Jake destroy everything in my life? I stood without another word. I paid for my coffee. I walked out into the cold air. And for a moment, I thought that would be the end. But it was only the beginning. The rumors started first. She stole the inheritance. She manipulated that old woman. She owes us. She's greedy. Then Tom chimed in, texting me some long, guilt-soaked message about thinking of the family. I replied with a single sentence. "You didn't include me in your will because I'm not family, remember?" He didn't answer. But my mother? She retaliated in a way I never could have predicted. A week later, I received an official-looking letter in the mail. I tore it open. My mother was suing me for a portion of the inheritance. Yes, my own mother. Suing me. Over money. I sank to the floor of my living room, the letter trembling in my shaking hands. I felt sick, betrayed, completely shattered. But I hadn't seen the worst part yet. The part that would send everything spiraling into a direction I never imagined. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the stamped letterhead, the legal jargon, the message beneath it all. "You are nothing but a bank account to us." By morning, my hands were still trembling as I sat in my car outside my attorney's office. I walked in expecting panic, a drawn-out legal war, months of court fees and hearings and stress. But my lawyer, Mr. Grant, skimmed the lawsuit once, snorted, and tossed it onto his desk like junk mail. "This is nonsense." I blinked. "What?" "It's not real," he said, pointing to the letter. "This law firm doesn't exist. This attorney isn't licensed. This address," he turned his computer screen toward me, "is an abandoned construction site." I stared, stomach twisting. "So, they hired a scam attorney?" "More like someone posing as one," he said. "It's intimidation, nothing more." He leaned back, looking at me with weary sympathy. "I'm sorry, Patricia, but this wasn't a legal attack. It was a desperate one." Desperate. That word stung more than anything. My own mother and stepfather had forged a lawsuit to scare me into paying them. There was no confusion, no miscommunication, no messy family misunderstanding. Just greed. Pure, ugly greed. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt like something inside me cracked open. I cried the whole drive home. Not loud, wailing sobs, just quiet tears leaking down my face as I gripped the steering wheel and wondered how I was supposed to continue loving people who saw me as disposable. That night, Evan held me in silence. He didn't push me to talk. He didn't ask me to explain. He simply let me unravel until the shaking stopped. And when I finally whispered, "Why isn't family supposed to be like this?" he answered softly, "Patricia, sometimes the people you're born to aren't your family. Sometimes the people you choose are." That should have comforted me. It did, but it also broke me a little more. Because deep down, a small wounded part of me still wanted the family I never had. The emotional fallout lasted weeks. My mother's texts turned frantic, then furious, then silent. Tom sent guilt-drenched paragraphs I stopped reading. Jake posted vague Facebook statuses about greedy people who don't care about family. I ignored them all. But the stress, it sat on my chest like a stone. My appetite disappeared. I slept in fragments. I flinched every time my phone buzzed. By the third week, Evan gently pulled the car keys out of my hand one evening and said, "Pack a bag. You need to get away from all of this." I didn't argue. I didn't have the strength. We left the next morning for a simple road trip. Nothing fancy, just sleepy towns, diners with peeling paint, and endless stretches of open highway. And for the first time in months, I exhaled. It was on the road, somewhere between a sunflower field and an old wooden bridge, that everything shifted. I was staring out the window, watching the world blur into warm colors, when a strange peace washed over me. I didn't miss them. Not Tom, not Jake, not even my mother. The realization didn't hurt. It felt like stepping out of a burning house and realizing the smoke on your clothes isn't poison anymore. It's just a memory. I wasn't theirs to hurt anymore. I wasn't theirs to claim. I wasn't theirs. When we returned home, I did something I had been avoiding. I wrote letters. One for Mom, one for Tom, one for Jake, even one for a couple of cousins who had tried manipulating me during the inheritance frenzy. Not angry rants, not emotional pleas, just the truth. How their actions had hurt me. How long I'd felt like an outsider. How exhausting it was to constantly prove my worth in a family that never wanted me. How the inheritance didn't make them greedy. It just exposed what had been there all along. And most importantly, that I was letting go. Not in bitterness, but in peace. I mailed every letter, sealed, final. Then something unexpected arrived in return. A small envelope, handwritten, crooked letters on the front, for Patricia. Inside, on lined notebook paper, were 7 words. I'm sorry for asking for money. I miss you. Nathan, my breath caught. Nathan, my little half-brother. The one person in that house who never chose to hurt me. Suddenly, I remembered him as a toddler with big eyes, tugging at my sleeve, wanting me to read him stories. A kid who didn't understand favoritism or manipulation or the invisible weight I carried. And now at 14, he was the only one reaching back toward me. I texted him that same night. I miss you too. You didn't do anything wrong. We talked, slowly, cautiously. Just schoolwork, games he liked, teachers he hated. But it was real. It was honest. It was something his parents couldn't touch. A bridge, small and fragile, but ours. As for the rest of my family, silence. Blissful, healing silence. No lawsuits, no demands, no guilt trips, no sudden family emergencies. They finally understood I wouldn't bend. I wouldn't be their ATM, their scapegoat, their spare child. I had chosen myself. Today, as I sit in my little home, sunlight spilling across the living room, Evan humming in the kitchen, and a text from Nathan glowing quietly on my phone, I feel something I never felt growing up. Safe. Not tolerated. Not used. Not tolerated as an afterthought. Truly, deeply, peacefully safe. My family didn't change. I did. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's everything.